Hi, and welcome to Heaven. This is Julia Kivilda,
And Raquel Alves.
and today we are going to talk to you basically about our life, I guess, and the struggle of being in your 20s. Would
Yeah,
you?
pretty much. Basically, we came up with this like realization that why the heck is everyone getting married?
Yeah, why is everyone getting married? Why are all my friends getting married? It's crazy. I do not feel ready to be married whatsoever, nor do I think they are ready to get married.
True.
So it's really creeping me out because I see so many people our age like getting engaged, getting married, even more than that. Like some people are having kids, and it's just it's so insane to me how like big the dichotomy is between like people in their 20s, you know?
Yeah,
Because
it really is.
there's people like us going out and, drinking wine on a Tuesday afternoon. And there's people like them who are planning their weddings. And I don't know, it just feels so weird to me.
It does feel weird because I don't know, sometimes I think about myself and like, oh, okay, I'm an adult. I'm working. I finished my degree. I started my job, been working for over a year. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing the th real things. And then I see, I don't know, an old high school classmate getting engaged, and you're like, wait, what? And you
Exactly.
start, it's just like a whole other level of like adulthood, you know? We're like level like 0.5, and then they're like level 10 when they're like, I'm pregnant. And you're like,
Yeah, like
okay.
the thing for me is that like I just got my life. I feel like my life has just really started. Like I've just started to be like a fully independent adult that's like self-sufficient and can support themselves with like my own money, my own work. And to think that like I would just have to give it away to like be married and have kids is just no.
Yeah, it's
Like
kind of insane. Also, the fact that, sure, I am obviously matured, I'm 23, but like I'm way too young to be a parent, you know? Or even to just think about marriage is just like, of course, most marriages end up in divorce, but you go with the intuit of like going
yay,
forever.
optimist.
Yeah, I know. But, marriage is technically forever. I don't really see myself in that stage of life whatsoever. Yet, I do sense that once you reach around half through your 20s, you definitely start feeling the pressures of marriage, having kids, buying a house, all these like stages of adult
Totally.
life. I think as soon as you reach around 25, and we are kind of close to that, you really start feeling the pressures, especially seeing everyone around you, and you just have this idea, why is everyone out of a sudden like starting a family and things like that?
I know, and I think it's the thing is like when I was 12 or something, and I think of people that I knew at the time who are like 25, like that felt so adult to me. I felt like, oh wow, these people have like their whole life figured out. They clearly know like what they're doing and like in long-term relationships or like getting married and they just have their life together. And now I'm like, I just turned 24 and I don't really see my life miraculously changing in the next year. And getting settled suddenly, And it's just so crazy to me how hard it is to like reconcile that in your brain because as you said, like on one hand, it feels like you're doing like well, you're working, you're like living your life, and there's this pressure to like be social and have so many friends and go out, do your hobbies, be successful in your career, but then there are like all these other pressures that contradict it completely, which is like settle down, like have a family, have a relationship. Like you need time for those things. Like you need time to invest in like your relationships and all of that. And I don't know, like I feel like everyone just needs time to be selfish in their lives and like independent. And I feel like the beginning of 20s should be that, like the time to like discover yourself and
Yeah.
get to know yourself and develop a relationship with yourself rather than focus on all of those other things.
Yeah, and I also do feel that even those stages, like I think some people, especially older generations, do criticize us and our generations of being way too infantile and a prolonged childhood in a way during our 20s. But at the same time, how can we blame us? We live in an economy that it's not possible to, get a property, or even a wedding seems like a very big economic endeavor. Like it's a lot of money, and we're just not living in that society anymore. I really feel that these expectations were kind of set up onto society in a completely different economic scenario to what it is now. So, for example, like it was the average 25-year-old in 1970s was easier for him to buy a house, even in the suburbs, than it is for a 25-year-old today in the suburbs to buy a house. Like, let's be honest, of course, we are kind of failing in a sense to adulthood because we're like trying to fulfill expectations that don't fit our realities in a way.
Exactly. And like if you think about it, like I've read that like the average wedding age in 1970 was 23, whereas now it's closer to 31. And that totally makes sense because people are just not ready for that and they don't want to do that. Like the life expectancy is also way longer. So we have a longer span of life to like fulfill everything we want in your life. And if you think about it, up till like when you're 18, 20 something, you're not an independent person. You're subject to like education, subject to institutions. And it's only after that, once you leave that you become fully independent on your own. And not even a lot of people get the chance to do that for like financial reasons and stuff like that. So it's really, really like difficult to expect that of us. Like if I think about it, like my dad got married when he was like 22 and then he's had his first kid at 23, and like my sister is 20 years older than me, so obviously there is like a massive difference. And like anyone in my family, including my sister and my dad, will tell you that he was not ready to be a dad.
Yeah, for sure. I think with that, obviously, because we have such a wide access to the world, that also obviously will emphasize the differences on people's lives in this period of our lives. But also the fact that, as you're saying, like we've been living for the majority of our lives at the age of 20 something at school. So we've been like doing, I don't know, 12, 16 years of schooling, if we count together with university, maybe a postgraduate, I don't know. And once we finish that, there's like, okay, what you expected from you is work. Then now you have to go and get your money. So what's there left for you to do and accomplish in your life? I think a lot of times people follow these traditional stages of marrying, buying a house, and starting a family because now after school finished, you just have work for the rest of your life. And it's a completely different environment that is to schooling. Because what I was thinking is that, oh, you start a degree and you know when it's going to finish. It's going to be a 3-year commitment. You start and finish. It has like a specific goal attached to it. Well, once you start working, and I even thought about, our first episode of this year with the rewind of 2023, when you were saying, oh, nothing really remarkable happened to me last year. And I actually thought about that. And I think it's mostly due because we are just working every day and life becomes a bit, I won't say without meaning, but I don't want to be that doomed, but there's no specific goals. Like you will thrive to, you will thrive to like get a promotion or like achieve a certain role in the place you're working, or even like achieve a certain specific job that you're like working your way through. But there is no clear end to it anymore. And
everything is like pretty stable. That's true.
So you kind of feel like marrying and starting a family feels more as a natural, like even for yourself personally, as a stage of life to build up to, which makes sense. But then it can also be a huge pressure for people who are not ready or don't want to. And everyone around you is telling you, but you have to do it. It's like, why?
Yeah, like I think about it a lot because I'm like, wow, like I'm 24 and I'm not in a relationship. I, to be honest, never had like a single long-term stable relationship in my life. And I'm like, if I'm supposed to get married in like a few years, how is that supposed to happen, It just won't. Like, it's crazy. And at the same time, like I'm perfectly content with like where I am in my life. So it's like it's very dual because like me with myself, like I'm happy where I am. But then I think about about those things that the society is kind of putting on me, or I'm putting on myself because of like the expectations that everyone has around me and what everyone else is also doing around me. And, I just feel like odd.
Yeah, I always looked into my 20s, even as a teenager, as a moment in my life that I really wanted to use as to explore. As a teenager, I was like, oh, I won't have the restrictions of school, so I'm just gonna explore the max I can. And to a certain extent, I am kind of doing it. But the first time that I had those realizations of like, why is everyone going forward with their life and I'm not, was definitely when I was still working my previous job. And while I was there, 2 people got engaged and married, and 3 people bought a house, and they were not that far from my age. So I started working there when I was 22, and there was a girl who was 23, 24 and bought a house. And I was like, what? How is
That's
that possible?
crazy.
Or when I was speaking with this newcomer that we had, and she was also around my age. So I was just 23, and she was 24. And she was speaking like, oh yeah, I moved here to London for this job with my husband. And I was like, what? You're
You're
married?
cool.
You're married? She's like, yeah, we've been married for 3 years. I was like, what? Me in my shared flat. Na, 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 na.
That's insane. What
That
do
was
you
insane. There's like these contrasts really make you, yeah, and then you start thinking to yourself, should I be doing the same? I don't think so, but I won't lie that it got me thinking that perhaps I am not, perhaps I am late to my own life, which is a very horrible thing to
It
feel.
is.
Yeah, this idea of like being late to your own life, it's really anxiety inducing. And I'm not saying that people should not get married at 23, but maybe, I don't know. Yeah, the difficult issue. Like I also we shouldn't like tell them to not do it if they want to. But yeah, it's a hard time for us to navigate with these contrasts, especially online when we have so much access to see everyone's lives. I don't have that many people in my personal bubble society that have got married or started having kids, but my boyfriend has, and he has so many like people from his high school that got married. Like, and I'm not even joking. It's like 5 people that he knew that got married, and one of them even like 2 of them are like pregnant. And I was like, what? And then he goes and tells me, I don't even have money for next round. But you mean these people are like having kids at this age? What the
I
hell?
know, that's what I'm thinking. Because like I'm perfectly fine supporting myself, but then like imagine if I had like a whole ass human being.
Oh God, no. Oh, that thing you sent me
No.
today of those parents with those kids. Oh, hell. What
I
a
know, right?
hell.
Like social media is the best like contraception, because when you see all those videos of little kids just running around and being a menace to society, you're just like, no, thank you. This video that I sent you was like 2 toddlers, twins, and then like the parents raising them. And the toddlers were doing the dumbest shit ever. And people in the comments were like, just admit this was sponsored by Durex, please. Just say it.
I know, right? Actually, I'm glad you brought that up though, because have you ever actually felt baby fever?
No, it never happened to me. Never.
Hmm.
I don't feel like any maternal instinct, and my sister has 2 kids, and obviously like I've knew them since they were little babies, and like I took care of them as well. And like obviously I love them and they're super sweet, but I don't feel like
Oh.
it didn't make me feel like any maternal instinct whatsoever either.
I know I had a baby fever, but it lasted
I
like 2 days.
remember, yeah, that was so weird.
But I think it was because of this one book that I read. I don't know if you remember.
Remember.
Oh my God. I don't want to spoil it at all, but it's a series, and it was the last book on this Neapolitan novels by Elena Ferrante. Dude, the last book has so many babies in it that literally put me in a baby fever. Everybody was pregnant, and I was like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "No, I'm actually living what those characters did, except I'm not pregnant myself,
But
hopefully.
everyone around you.
Knock on wood, I'm not." But um,
I'll tune in for like in the next 2 episodes to find that.
but like it got me in a baby fever. But then I was thinking, am I really, or is it just internet trying to impregnate me? You know what
I
I mean?
know. It's like when you think you're pregnant and you keep seeing ads for like diapers and
Oh,
shit.
stop. Or when you get like, you're like, I think you're like a bit scared that my period is a bit late and maybe I should do a test. And then you go see a YouTube video and there's an ad for those pregnancy
Yeah,
tests.
like clear blue and
Seriously. Why?
so bad. so bad. I hate the internet for that. Like the cookies
The
are
cookies.
mean. The cookies are mean.
The
Like
cookies are mean. Oh,
this is
seriously.
terrible. No, but it's very true. And I feel like, I don't know, I'm also noticing this like among like celebrities and stuff, like people obsessing about, like, for example, like now, like Suki Waterhouse being like pregnant with like Robert Pattinson.
Wait, she's pregnant?
Yeah. Did
Oh,
you not know?
no.
That's like old news. She's like pregnant.
You guys didn't see, but my mouth just opened. Oh my God.
Your childhood dreams just crashed.
To be fair, I was Team Jacob, so it's fine. But to be fair, no, actually, I renounced that. I was Team Alice. But anyway, I didn't know that. I've been living under a rock. It's okay.
And then, or like I remember when like Kylie Jenner was pregnant and then people were trying to find out for like her nails, like the way she did her nails,
Oh yeah.
that she was pregnant. And it's just like, why are we so obsessive about this? Like
Yeah, it's
just
crazy. It's crazy. Or like when I saw this very random
also, yeah, Kylie
one.
Jenner is like what, our age? How old is she? Like 20.
Yeah, but I would never compare my life to Kylie Jenner in any way. So I'm like,
Oh
whatever.
no, of course, but I'm just saying, you know.
I'm like, no. But
Just by the way.
I feel like there is, for example, way more. I mean, I am sure that men also feel pressure into like these stages of life, but I do think that women suffer way more of like pressuring to, I think specifically having kids because of like our biological clock
Yeah.
and whatever. And if you reach a certain age and like, so when are you gonna have kids? Or like, oh, have you thought about this? Oh, you're not dating anyone. How are you gonna
Yeah,
like start a
it's
family this way?
it's very true because like I think about that sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm not dating anyone and I'm 24. So let's say by the time I start dating someone, it's like a year. And then I need about like 2, 3 years maybe if it's like someone who matches really well to like get engaged or whatever. And then like maybe 2 or 3 more years to have kids with that person. And then I'm just like, the plan is like a 6 year plan that I need to think about, you know?
Yeah, no, but it's true. And I
And then
think it
people
also
just like
puts
go with the flow, and I'm like, how am I supposed to go with the flow?
I know it's really, yeah, it's really, yeah, it's very pressuring. Besides, you have like this 6 year plan, but like right now, you can't even think about those situations yet. It's too soon. And I feel like women do feel way more pressured into these like marrying and having kids type of stages than men do. Even when I was randomly looking in, even like in shows, for example, I just finished watching like How I Met Your Mother, and it's about a group of
Finally.
friends. Yeah, I know. It's about a group of friends, and we have this main character who's a guy, and he's in his 30s, and he's like thinking, "Oh, I'm in my 30s, and I'm not married, and I want to have a family." But you don't see anyone like around him be like, "You should." It's more like
Yeah.
just him who wants it. If we go see a show like Sex and the City, which has like the four female protagonists, all of them suffer at some point in the show. Someone judging them was like, "Oh, you're
Totally.
30. Why don't have any stable partner? How are you gonna have kids?" And it's like they're just like trying to live their lives, you know? They don't even want kids at this point. They just want to find a decent partner, like someone they can like share more than one night with. You know what I mean? Women do feel way more pressured by society
Very true. Yeah.
into like starting a family. And I think it has to do not only with our technical biological clock, but also, but I think it's also just a society rule culturally as well, to be honest. And I
Yeah, no.
also think that the majority of marriages, as you're saying, the average now is 31. I think they're being pushed more because of women. Women don't want to start families so early because that was literally going to cut their lives.
Yeah, because for a woman, if you get a kid, that's like a sentence. I mean, like I don't want to be dramatic, but it's true. If you don't live in like a country that, especially in a country like America that doesn't have like any good child support, it doesn't have like proper maternity leave and stuff like that, you're basically forced to like either quit your job or be labeled as a bad mother because you're not taking care of your child or you're like getting a nanny or whatever. So it's just absolutely insane. They think about that a lot as well. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'd like to have kids in the future. Maybe I would, but I also would like to be at a stage where I'm very independent in my career for me to do that so
Yeah.
that I don't have to risk it completely and lose my own life because of that.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of women who don't want to even have kids at all, just because other things are more important to them. And that's okay as well. But if a man says that, nobody's gonna be so pressuring of like, oh, are you sure? But with
Yeah.
women, they will like, oh, are you sure? Because if you made a decision, you cannot go back afterwards. And it's like, chill.
Yeah,
What?
I've
You
even
okay?
heard from like a lot of my friends, like, when they would go to like a gynecologist to get contraception,
Mhm.
that's like, for example, like an IUD or something that's like more permanent than a pill.
Yeah.
And then they would be like 20 or 21 or whatever. And the doctor would be like, "Oh, are you sure you want to do this? Maybe like you'll want to have kids in like 2, 3 years because this lasts for like 5." And they're like, "No, it's my decision. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Let me have it." And it's just like the lack of acceptance, as if like we were not be capable of like making our own decisions about our own bodies, it's just so insane to me. Like, obviously I'm doing this for a reason, so stop gaslighting me.
Yeah, because obviously, even just like the whole process of birthing a child is way more pressuring and harder for the woman. I mean, the woman is the one who's having it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
So
The
of
man is
course,
just vibing on the sidelines.
we're gonna take even extra precautions or even extra worried because even before the child is actually born, I'm the one who's gonna suffer all of it.
I don't want to have my vagina ripped.
Or even like you become, I don't know, 6 months pregnant and maybe you can't work anymore already.
Yeah, or like
You might
you
lose your job. So many women have like been fired
yeah.
because they got pregnant. Like that's really awful.
Even worse is like when you're like in the age of like having kids, even if you don't have any, when you would like go and try to find a new job and people would be like asking you like,
Hmm.
"Oh, like are you planning to start a family anytime soon?" That's just insane. Like that should be illegal. And the fact that that's even a consideration in any way drives me insane.
It's so ironic because it's like you pressure women a lot to have kids at this specific time of their lives, yet
You don't support them
you
to
don't
like
support them in any way, and we
have.
don't get any benefits in the process like that. Or for example, there's also this person in my previous work where she was a mother for 2 kids and they were like 1 year or 2 years of difference. So it was like next to each other. So she was basically for around 2 years not working, and she said this was the only job that got me, and I was looking for months. Nobody wanted me because I was 2 years away while I was just being a mother, like they were like months old. I couldn't not. It was like a maternity leave. And she said she had a very big struggles on coming back to the job market because no one was accepting her just because she was a mom for 2 years. Like 2 years, like it's not even that long. It's
If a
insane.
man left for like 2 years to discover himself
That
or
was seen
whatever,
that would be seen as like entrepreneurial and all
yeah,
that
people would be like,
bullshit.
"Wow, you're so special." Or even if he went for like 2 years to care for the kids, people would be like, "Wow, you're such a responsible dad."
Yeah, but the woman now is like, oh, you did that? Well, bad for you. We're not going to
That
take you on this job.
actually, like talking about it makes me so enraged. Like,
Mhm.
you have no idea. It's just,
Yeah, and on the other day, I also saw in the news, it was a whole like different case, nothing to do with this, but it was like this woman and she was also pressured by her husband to have kids. So she herself, she was saying like when discussing about it, oh, I don't think we are ready. We don't really have the financial stability. So she was not even saying like I don't want to at all. It's more like we're not ready right now. And she was extremely pressured to have those kids. And when I think about those things, I always feel like these, typical life stages of like the having kids, the marry, they're way more beneficial to a man than they are to women. And it makes me like the way the women are pressured for the sake of the man who wants to have the kids. And they really have this thing of like, having a son or having a daughter, more of a son, but, having a child, continuing on like family line, and they feel
yeah.
fulfilled with that, even though sure they takes two to tango, but still it was all the mother's work in a sense. I've seen a lot of comments and I'm starting to side them a bit that it's actually not a 50-50
No, it never is. Like, a woman
situation. it's more of like an 80-20 situation where the whole gestation of like the child and creating of life is the mother who does it.
It is.
The women suffer from physical and mental changes during pregnancies. A
Yeah,
man doesn't
they're
at
the ones
all.
who have to like breastfeed the baby. They're the ones who have to be with the baby at all times because the baby needs like the mother.
So I think it's like those lack of responsibilities as well, even afterwards.
Exactly. And then like the 9 to 5 workday is also catered to men in the first place
Yeah.
because for a woman, like this was conceived when like a woman would like sit at home and fully take care of the household and the baby. Whereas now like if the woman wants to have like a 50-50 relationship, she's the one who goes to work as well. But then she's also usually the one who takes over the majority of the household responsibilities.
Yeah.
So this whole disproportion is really making a lot of women not want that. And like the more of my friends are girls that I talk to, most of them don't want to have kids anymore.
Yeah, and I've also seen that in comparison, like statistically and obviously in average, women are happier single than men are single, and men are happier when married than women are when married.
Yeah, because we do everything for them. We're like living maids
But it's
essentially.
true. If you think there's actually a very big rise of, I mean, it also connects a bit with our episode on dating apps and how men are very dissatisfied with their single life. And there's a rise of lonely single men, while in comparison, women are a bit happier when they're single. And one of the reasons as well has to do with friendships. Women have been way more socialized
Developed.
to, no, into developing emotional
Yeah.
intelligence and also being more empathetic. And we end up fostering better friendships with
Yeah, like
others.
year-long friendships that are like a substitute for like a relationship, basically.
Men, not really. You see even like those very cringy like BFF, best friend forever with the hearts that you buy when you're 12. It's very silly, it's very cringy, but it's like a very small indicator on how women, since they're girls, are fostering long-lasting relationships.
Yeah, like a best friend forever, literally.
Yeah, like the friendships are very important. So it's normal that once you're single, it's not so lonely or it's not so sad because you have friends around, which
Yeah,
just shows
exactly.
how important, again, friendship really is. And men don't foster those as much. So marriage, the woman becomes to him his whole thing. And then it's obvious that he gets so tired of it. So although there's like all these very sexist memes of like, a married man is like a man in a cage and like, like it's so horrible. But they're actually happier in marriages because you're getting everything with your wife. You're getting a wife, you're getting technically a friend, you're getting a mother, and you're getting a maid. So of course they're happier. You know what I mean? Like it's a slave on your own household.
No, but it's very true, and it's very funny that you say that because actually I've noticed that like being on dating apps and stuff. First of all, like there's a lot of older men on dating apps, like a lot of men that are like 27, 28, 29, and they are nowhere close to having their life together, like whatsoever. They're like, yeah, I don't know what I'm really looking for. I'm just studying. I don't really want anything specific and stuff, but they still like long for having a sort of someone with them at all times. And I think that's what also leads to a lot of those like situational relationships, like situationships, because they still want someone to be around, even though they know that's not the person they want to be with. And then women are like the opposite and are getting fed up. Like I am on like a lot of like groups and stuff because I also done research about that. And like so many girls are saying like, oh, I've deleted like all of my dating apps this year. Like I'm done. Like I don't want to meet anyone. I'm glad to live without a man on my own. Maybe I'll meet someone organically, maybe not, but I just don't want to inquire into that like at all. And I totally get that. And it's actually very funny because a lot of men, when I tell them that I'm single and I live alone, the first question that they ask me me is like, do you not get lonely? How do you manage to live alone? And I'm like, never lonely. I go to work, I have my friends, like I call with my friends, I meet with my friends all the time. Even when I'm at home, like I'm perfectly content in my own company. I don't need someone around me 24/7. And it's very funny because on the contrary, those men often say like, oh yeah, I could never like live alone. Like that's why I live with like my friends in a flat share or just with random people in a flat share because I just don't want to live alone. And I'm like, that's insane. The fact that you can't spend time with yourself. And I feel like it links a lot to like wider issues of like you not being in touch with like your own feelings and emotions. So you just constantly put sound, like, background noise all over them because you just don't want to face
Yeah.
them and yourself in a sense. And
Yeah, because obviously those moments also lead more to introspection and you start thinking more about you and yourself. Blah, blah,
who
blah.
would have thought that like
Yeah, so
I could like make you learn something? No?
but it is really that. So it is no wonder that they would maybe not say quickly because a lot of men cannot commit, but they'll be way more open to an earlier marriage proposition than a woman would.
Yeah.
Another reason as well that I thought that is why we're like sometimes a lot of people feel lost in their 20s is something that I kind of realized myself like back in December, like not too long ago, where like your 20s is the stage where you mature, like
Yeah.
mentally and physically, like your body, your puberty finally finishes, you actually become an adult from a biological point of view. And it's a moment in your life where you actually start looking back. It's the first moments of your life that you actually feel nostalgia, like this whole sense of nostalgia of like a past life.
Mm.
Because when you are a teenager, you don't really think about the past when you were a
You
teenager.
always look forward. You always want to be older. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so
And
true.
that's because you're not matured yet. So the whole teenagehood is still in a sense like a bit of a childhood in quotation marks.
You're gonna
And
turn me into an existential crisis. Like,
but
sorry,
it's true. But it's true. And the way I felt that was actually like right before Christmas, I went to my mom's school because I was gonna give like a very mini speech to her students about like possible careers in the art field, blah blah, just like to give them some motivation and answer their questions. And I was like, well, I'm young compared to like my mom, so obviously I would definitely reach those kids better. And it hit me so hard. I'm not joking. It hit me so hard when I look at those kids and I totally remember being their age and the fact that I am so far away. I was looking at them and once the session's
Yeah.
kind of over, I was thinking to myself, dude, these kids are worried about going to high school. I finished high school. I finished uni. I worked for a whole year already. I am literally
Um,
10 years older. I'm a decade older than these kids. And I was like, dude, I'm so old. Like, I'm
that's
an adult. This
crazy.
is awful. And I
No.
really, I really felt it because there was like another girl with me. I was like kind of more the grown up literally on the session. There was a girl who was just in high school, so was offering like some advice more close to home. And that I was like, I'm literally not close to them anymore as I thought I kind of still was. So I do feel as a 23-year-old still a bit of a baby, but actually I'm not. And that sends you in such a big existential crisis. Even the fact like right now we are recording in a distance and I am back at my parents' house for like the time being. And it also doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same being, and I think you pretty much felt the same when you went to visit your parents at Christmas. Like it doesn't really feel the same.
Not at all. Like you feel the responsibilities and like it feels different. Like obviously I'm at my parents' house, but I still think about like my work and my own life. And for me, it's more like I am my own entity. Like I have a whole ass life on that's in a different country that's completely different to like my parents' life. It's just it's
It's like
insane.
that you have a life now, and that life also has a past already. And I think that's like the big difference. You now have a past. You now have a before and after in a sense.
Jeez.
And that really puts things in perspective because
Ah,
But that's why you like end up, oh,
Yeah, but it's
it's
true. Like
time
my
for me to get
university,
married. It's the time for me to like start a
university is also
family.
in the past, it's like it's behind me. That's why now, like when I meet with people who are like 27 and they're like, yeah, I'm still like at uni, I'm not really doing anything. And for me, like this is not really who I'm looking for, like in a partner anymore, because we're not on the same life level, even though you're older than me,
Yeah.
we're not, because I'm working and I have different responsibilities in my life and I'm not carefree and independent anymore. And I can't pick a random week and go away to Spain because I need to book my holidays and think about that and think about like the team of people that I am responsible for at work.
Yeah, and I also notice how as a teenager, obviously you want just to grow up. And now, I don't know if you remember when I think it was like a very hot day in London and we went to Amsterdam Ponds.
Oh, yes.
And we were like all together, us in our group, and then we saw those group of teenagers. And I also felt such nostalgia for
I
when
know.
you just, oh, it's hot, let's just go to the park, blah, blah, blah. And you are 17 and nothing matters so much in your life as it is to just be in that lake and do stupid shit with your friends. I was like, damn, I don't have this feeling anymore because I am there having fun with all of you, but I'm like, I have to go back home and cook dinner. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, oh God, it is such an existential crisis. And I think because we are obviously not fully adults, but then we are like hit in our faces with these big life stages of marriage and kids. And you're like, I'm not ready. And then you're just like getting anxious, like, I just started working. I don't know. And then you just like rot in bed.
Exactly. For me, like the peak of adulthood is the fact that I can eat like ice cream for breakfast, That's like my benefits. Like, what do you mean I'm supposed to have children? Like, obviously, I'm not fit for this. I
Literally.
am a child with adult money, And that is very, very different.
Yeah, it's like for example, that video that went kind of viral on TikTok of this girl who was like, I'm a 2004 baby with my 2024 baby. And I was like, what?
What?
I am a 2000 baby, and I'm pretty sure if I got pregnant, it will still be considered teen pregnancy. Like, what?
That's crazy.
That's super crazy. That guy's 20 basically, and she said, what? At 20, I was like second year of uni.
I know. I remember when like I went to like a little town, like primary school. And so a lot of people from there were getting married pretty quickly, very small community, and like a lot of people from not very like privileged families. Those were like the first people that I would see like pregnant or like getting married in like the little town. And I would be like, that's literally insane. And now like people from my high school are getting engaged and people who I know that were like in the years above me. And it's becoming very like tactile because those are people that I remember seeing like on my school corridor. And
Yeah.
they are now doing those big monumental steps in their lives. And I'm just here
But
vibing.
I think the difference is really that we see it as these monumental moments.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people who do these a bit too early, perhaps. I still think it's a bit too early. Like, it's my opinion, I guess, but I
Yeah.
think it's a bit too early to do those steps at this age. Sometimes they don't have many choices in a thing, in a
Yeah,
sense,
or other experiences
or other
as well.
experiences to like then go see, oh, maybe I could be doing something else. If that's never ever presented to you and you live in a small world in a way, that's kind of why. And that's why you have
Yeah.
these big discrepancies in the end between you who moved abroad to a very big city and you're experiencing so many other things in your life that marriage and kids is not all to your world right now. There's so much
No,
more to your world.
not at all.
And people who stayed, there's not much more to it, perhaps.
That is very true. Yeah.
But then they will grow up and have like a midlife crisis when they have no meaning anymore.
Exactly. Oh my God. I have such a good thing to bring up in here.
Okay.
We have these like family friends, right? But let's call them family friends, basically. We're like associated for like my friend's brother and his friends. They're like their parents, but they all live like close to us. And they have a daughter who's 30 something now. And she got married super quickly. She was like, I want to have 3 kids. Parents like supported her. Her parents like helped her take care of the babies. And she was like, this is my plan. Like, I want to be a mom. And now she's gone insane. She's gone crazy. And she's going exactly through that crisis. She's divorcing her husband. She's met some guy in like her child's kindergarten. And she went with that guy, cheated on her husband with him.
Hell.
And the guy already has like his own children. And now she's going for like a whole ass divorce with the father of her children. and she's not thinking about the kids at all. She basically doesn't want to take care of them whatsoever. She just wants to like get rid of them. Because
Damn.
she suddenly realized that like she lost all of her 20s on like taking care of kids and having like no life. And it's just insane. And she tattooed the guy's name on her
Oh
arm, like
no.
the new guy. She tattooed like I love like and his name.
Oh
That woman is
no.
like 30 something. Like, can you imagine? And she's suddenly just gone like insane.
That's wow.
Yeah.
That's
And
all.
we're all like following the drama. We're like, oh my God.
Oh no. Well, you see, like those things is also the bad sides of it, right? When you kind of comply to the traditional, and I feel like also a bit of, I'm not saying people don't genuinely want a family and genuinely want to get married, but you rushing through those stages just to like get your life done and just live it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's also this like complying to the traditional because it's like the easy route is the
Yeah,
one that's familiar. And it's mostly to avoid venturing to the unknown. I mean,
that's true.
if I don't marry, what am I supposed to do? If I don't have kids, what am I going to
Yeah.
do after? Do I just keep working? Because that's also kind of sad. What is there more to life if I don't do this? But you kind of see that having everything figured out is also not the way. Like, I don't want to be getting like all philosophical around here, but you will figure out things for the rest of your life?
Yeah. You're
Like,
always learning.
you're always learning, you always figure things out throughout your living. Like, yeah, I think we are pressured to have things figured out in our 20s when you're going to be 50 and you still don't know, probably.
That's so deep. I think we should end on this note. Because I just need to like take a moment to like digest all of this now.
Oh, well, that's how we're going to leave you, having a crisis, because we cannot be doing this on our own. So, um,
20s and you don't know what you're doing with your life and you're just winging it like us, let us know. That would be great.
yes.
And if you do have it together, tell us how.
All right. Also, where were you drinking today, Julia?
I was drinking peppermint tea because I'm healthy.
Disgusting. I was drinking a rosé, which is also not on brand for me, but is what we had in the fridge and was enough for a glass because I'm not gonna be, completely drunk by 3 p.m. But yeah, that's all for today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.